do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everyone? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, Victor Oladipo is one of those players that is probably going to be traded before the trade deadline happens tomorrow. As I'm recording this, it is actually Tuesday evening, just so everyone knows. So in case anything happens between now and when this is uploaded Wednesday at noon, that's why, because as we know, things happen very quickly during NBA deadline week. So if he's traded by the time you're seeing this, that's the reason why. But as of right now, he has not been traded. So let's potentially, let's get into some potential destinations and what the value might look like for Victor Oladipo and the Rockets. First of all, in terms of his value, we actually have some more concrete reports on this than with some of the other guys. The Rockets seem to be looking for either a young player or a first-round pick. Not both, either one of those. And there are some teams that are, looking to make a deal that think that the Rockets might actually eventually end up settling for just a second-round pick or a couple second-round picks and matching salary. So he's not worth a lot right now, given his injury history, given the fact that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and his play this season. Oladipo is not going to be someone who's going to command a ton of value on the trade market, in the next couple of days here. So that's what we're working with here, and you're going to see that reflected in my trades. If you have a problem with how I value Victor Oladipo, then let me know in the comments down below. But this is how I personally value him, and a lot of this is also based on accurate reports from people who are in the media and are in the know on these types of things. So that's about where I'm at. Late first round pick, a young player, and that's about what his value is going to be. So here is the first reported destination. There is smoke around this one, and this is the New York Knicks. We have heard of two potential teams, concrete two teams that are definitely interested, and that Oladipo would be interested in re-signing with come the offseason, because there's this interesting dynamic here where he's going to be a free agent, and both of these teams, it's the Knicks you'll see up here and the Miami Heat, who I'm going to talk about next, both of those teams have cap space this offseason, so they could just wait and end up signing him then, or if they want to bring him in to assure that they can get him now and then re-sign him when the time comes, then maybe they want to give something up. But they're not going to be willing to give up a ton of value for him, for a player who they might just be able to sign in free agency in a couple months anyway. So here's the deal here, and thinking about it, this might seem like a little too much, honestly, but here we go, right? Alec Burks, Kevin Knox, and first-round pick from the Dallas Mavericks. This is a pick that is out there in trade rumors right now. They got it in the Kristaps Porzingis trade. The Mavericks are an okay team, not amazing. Could end up being lottery, could end up being, right outside of the lottery, depending on how the Mavericks season finishes. So it's an okay pick. And then Kevin Knox, former top 10 pick. We'll see if he ever ends up becoming something. Maybe the Rockets see something in him. Who knows? But he doesn't have a ton of value right now either. And then Alec Burks is just thrown in there because they don't want to be paying money to him. But they're an interesting thing because the Knicks have cap space right now, so they don't really have to give up much salary to do this. I just put in Alec Burks because maybe he's somebody that they don't want to be paying and don't want to have to play him once they bring in Oladipo because he would take away his minutes, so they just get rid of that money off the books here. For me, I like this trade for both sides, honestly. I think this works. I think this is a great amount of value for Houston to get back. If this trade came across the table, I think they would say yes to that. We'll have to see if the Knicks are willing to go there. This might be a little too much, depending on how much they value Kevin Knox. That's kind of the sticking point there, is do the Knicks still view Kevin Knox as a young prospect, or is he more of just a wasted spot because of how disappointing he's been so far in his career? Who knows, right? But this Mavericks pick is really where a lot of the value is coming from in this deal, and if they do make this trade, then they would probably hope to re-sign Oladipo in the offseason, and they would make that work. How much he would get, who knows, right? But definitely there is rumored some mutual interest between these two sides, so I think this trade could get done, and I could honestly see both sides saying yes to this. So here's a deal for the Miami Heat. This one includes Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a lottery-protected first-round pick for next season. Again, seems like kind of a lot. I don't know if the Heat are really going to go here. We'll have to see how some of their other, deadline hopings pan out, because we know they're in the mix on Kyle Lowry and LaMarcus Aldridge and a couple of other guys, right? So Oladipo is another guy that they're interested in. Who knows how far they're willing to go to get him. So if they're willing to give up a lottery protected first for next season, then I think that's a pretty competitive package with what others are giving up, right? It's not as good as that Knicks one that I just showed you, but it's something. And then Avery Bradley and Olynyk, both of those guys are rotation players for the Heat. Bradley has not been healthy very much this season. Olynyk is okay. He can do things for you. potentially the Rockets are able to bring those guys in and see if they can do anything or flip them down the line. Bradley has another year on his deal, and we'll see what happens with that. So this is a trade that I like for both teams. Again, I think this makes sense. The Heat, you could argue that giving up that first round pick is a little too much, considering how well the Heat have done in the draft in recent years, and the fact that it's next season, so there's that element of uncertainty there. That's kind of why it's in the lottery protection, because who knows next year. You can never be too certain about what's going to happen given injuries and all that. So there's lottery protection on there, but I think this makes sense for both teams. Might be a little too much value for the Heat to be stepping on. Maybe they'd rather give up like Kendrick Nunn and second round picks, or maybe one of their other younger players. Who knows, right? But I like this one. I think this could work. And here is another destination that has been reported on. Now, to me, and I'm sure to you guys, this doesn't really make much sense, but I did draw one up here just for the sake of it. This was actually reported, I believe, from Woj or Shams, one of the two, had this in the report along with the Heat and Knicks, that the Pistons were interested in Victor Oladipo as well. Doesn't make much sense to me, honestly. Oladipo's a veteran. He probably wants to be playing for titles. Detroit doesn't seem like a place he would want to re-sign anyway. So I'm not sure what this would be. I mean, listen, if the Pistons are willing to throw Oladipo a big contract, like if they were willing to max him or something close to it, I don't think that's a competitive... there's not going to be other offers that are competitive with that. Like if they're willing to pay him a lot of money in free agency, then I think they can sign him if they want to. It just doesn't really fit with their timeline and what they're trying to do. But if they're the team that's willing to, overreach and overpay for him, then I guess this makes sense in some way. But I have them giving up 2 second-round picks via the Raptors and the Hornets. Both of those could end up being okay, actually, given that, both of those teams are middle of the pack Eastern Conference, and Toronto, who knows what's going to happen. They might be tanking the rest of the year. The Hornets just lost LaMelo for the rest of the season, so who knows where those picks are going to end up. Those could be early second-round picks, in the maybe 40 to 45 range. And then it's DeLon Wright, Jahlil Okafor, Rodney Magruder. All those guys are there to pretty much just match salary. I think DeLon Wright is actually a guy that they could potentially flip down the line because he has 2 years left on his contract, so they could maybe flip him in the offseason and get something else out of this. But yeah, this, I don't know, doesn't really make much sense for the Pistons to do this. If they are the team that's willing to overpay, then sure, but I wouldn't do it if I was them, and I really don't see this one happening. Just maybe their interest was just to kind of drum up, maybe it was just rumored to drum up interest from other teams. I have no idea why they're in this report, but there's a trade for you. And then last one here, I don't think this is realistic, to put a disclaimer down. I don't necessarily think the Lakers are interested, and I don't know if this is enough for the Rockets to really bite. But I put this one in here. I was looking around for a team that, is probably looking for upgrades around the deadline. We know they've been a little active. A contender that would be willing to, stretch out to try to get somebody in there for the rest of the season. And given the injuries to LeBron and AD, I could see the Lakers swinging for another ball handling guy who can score, even if he's not, good as he once was. I think this makes sense for them, at least to, plug the gap for the next couple of weeks. And if either of those guys has to miss any more significant time, I think Oladipo could make sense for the Lakers. We know that they've been shopping KCP, potentially Montrezl Harrell, although he's not in this package. But there's, the Lakers are sniffing around for upgrades. So I have them giving up Wesley Matthews, KCP, and Talen Horton-Tucker, as well as a 2023 second-round pick. I think if they're willing to put in Talen Horton-Tucker, this deal gets done. Who knows if they're willing to, right? That's the question. But he's really the young guy on the roster that has the value, because I don't think that really Kuzma on that contract is going to be worth a lot to the Rockets. Maybe, but I don't know if they'd want to throw him in anyway, considering he's actually been playing pretty well this season. Alex Caruso's not really a young guy anymore, and he's important to their bench. And other than that, they don't really have any other younger players that they're going to be willing to throw into a deal, and they don't really have any picks that they can trade either. They used most of their first round picks to trade for guys like Dennis Schroeder. So it's really just Talen Horton-Tucker is the value for this Lakers team, and if they're willing to part with their one young guy, then they could potentially make something happen at the deadline. If they're not, then I think they're just going to stand pat. And then I put in the second round pick as well. That's not for a couple of seasons. It's probably not going to be very relevant, but at least it's something to kind of push this package over the edge. And maybe the Rockets could flip KCP at some point, because he's got a couple years on that deal, so maybe they could flip him for something else. Who knows? But this could make sense. I don't know. If the Lakers are willing to put in THT, I think they can get a deal done here. If Oladipo is the exact target that's ideal for them, I have no idea. But at least there's something. But yeah, there's 4 trade packages for Victor Oladipo, and who knows, maybe by the time you're seeing this, he's already been traded, and this doesn't even matter. But like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about this, where could he be traded, what do you think about his value, would love to hear your thoughts down below. But with all that said, see you guys in the next one.